All right, we'll get to the people in a second. I just want to explain something. So, like when I said every piece of reporting, totally just on a lark in the commercial break. I go, all right, Tarek Skubal into the Google machine, right? Mm-hmm. Google me, I win. Here is every piece that comes up. And it's in that, like they give you like a section of 10 articles, okay? In the order they are listed, okay? Will Tigers trade Tarek Skubal? Question mark. Tracking the latest rumors. That's Detroit Free Press.
Question mark.
SI writes, Orioles send massive haul to Tigers in Tarek Skubal trade. Rumored Tarek Skubal trade destinations. Mets linked to big trade for AL Central ace. Yankees owner expected to deny Skubal trade. By the way, that doesn't exist yet. Over price tag. Insiders imagine Yankees and Tigers Skubal trade. Mets linked to big trade for AL Central ace. So when we're talking about how do we get to this level, it's in the midst of talking about trading the singular best player you have. Right. That is the issue. And even if the decision under a microscope is the right thing, I don't want to pay him. I can't pay him because I don't think they'll ever carry a $200+ million payroll. I also am not sure there's going to be baseball in 2027. I'm not trying to be the black angel of death.
No. But especially if the Dodgers go out and win this thing, seeing how they put this team together and how they are kind of circumventing the way they're paying players. Not necessarily a cap in baseball, but you know what I mean.
David, Ticket Text, what are people saying here about the reality check of the World Series, and how do the Tigers get to the next level? Do you even believe they're going to make an effort to do so? Remember, plenty of teams in baseball and basketball. I won't comment on hockey. I'll leave that to Kenny. Football's different. Everyone's chasing the same thing. They just don't know how. But in the NBA and baseball, there is a theme. Not everyone's actually trying. Many NBA teams or MLB teams are plenty happy filling their ballpark, winning enough games to be competitive, and keep it moving. That's sad reality. In the NBA, it's the same thing. How many teams are actually gunning for a championship? Sure. So, again, before you convince yourself they're all in to do it, ask yourself then, what do they have to do in order to do it? I don't think trading Skubal would be at the top of that list. So just, we're having a conversation. Go ahead, David.
As a Tigers fan watching this World Series, we are so far back from these teams, we wouldn't have a chance. They are on two higher levels. We won't ever compete with that. That is Gary in Detroit.
So your question is, do you find a different way to do it? Because you can't do what the Dodgers are doing. You can't. There's no fiscal scenario you can do that. You'd go bankrupt. You can't ask your owner to go bankrupt. But the question will just become, look, the Dodgers won't be there every year.
No, but see, I think you had a competitive advantage, especially these last 2 years. Had you had that legitimate number 2 starter going into the playoffs because you had Skubal, and if you were able to follow that up with another starter who can just shut down people, you gave yourself, we always said, look, in a best of 3 and 5 series, Tigers have the advantage. But when it got to 7 games, not anymore.
See, but let me ask you this. Why do you need that second starter? Because in this division, you're just fine with everything you just have, and you can win it and make the playoffs every year.
Because, David, I'm going past the division.
Well,
I'm looking at how do you become that team in the World Series where we're doing shows down at the downtown because the Tigers are still playing right now.
See, but the fans don't ask for more than the division. They're just happy with winning a division. And in fact, we didn't even do that.
I'm not going to say that. I don't think that's fair.
That's where Rico actually might ultimately be right, is the daiquiri comments that he makes all throughout the summer is fans will show up to the ballpark, and when we're in the playoffs, they'll jam that ballpark. They just don't realize they have untapped potential, and that if you spend a little bit more, activate a little bit more, you could have World Series numbers.
I think you can get a lot better without spending a lot more money, but you have to do what they don't want to do. They have to stop collecting the Pokemon cards, a.k.a. prospects, and you're going to have to make some difficult trades. Look, you have 2 catchers in the system that are the same. You got to take one of Lorenzo and Briseno, and you got to move them.
Maximize them.
Right, like you have some duality here. Look, I understand. You're worried it's going to turn into the John Smoltz, Doyle Alexander thing. I know.
And see, that's what I was about to say. You have to be okay with being wrong. Because if you're trying to play it safe, this is what safe looks like. Yeah. Safe is, okay, we make the playoffs and let's see where we go. It's safe.
Right. And again, do you have to spend, yes, will I be all over the Bo Bichette train again in the offseason? Yeah. Why? Because he fits everything they need. Contact-based hitter. He is a shortstop. You can have McGonigal at second, which is where he probably profiles. They're going to need to spend. Don't get it twisted. But they're not going to go crazy. Trades can be the thing that gets them there. But Scott Harris has not shown a willingness yet, let's be fair, to put his ass in the jackpot. Because those are the moves that can get you fired. Mm-hmm. Versus if you hoard prospects and then you give everybody a wet wipe to tell them how excited you are about said prospects, you could sell hope in eternity. Oh, you don't like what we got now? Just wait till you see
blank.
They say, that's the whole point.
No, you're exactly right. And I also don't need another offseason of just being happy that they flirted with a free agent. I don't want just the flirting.
David, they made a winning offer. What the Red Sox did was asinine.
I'm not saying they didn't, Mike. What I'm saying is I can't have another offseason of just being happy with just that.
That's fair.
I need more than that. I need you to sign someone.
Okay.
And that goes back to where I say,
or trade.
No. But let's just say, these last 2 years, you had Skubal. You bring in somebody else, and now, okay, you meander your way to the playoffs, but now we have an advantage because we got a 1-2 punch that should carry us, that if a couple of bats heat up, we're good.
Let's go to people. Go to Casey, Birmingham, 97.1. Case, good to have you back. What's going on?
So, one, happy that they signed Hutch, and, I think it's a win-win. But on the Skubal thing, it is what I thought was going to happen and honestly needs to happen is moving Skubal and spending the majority of that $400 million that he wants on other bats and, more pitching help. We need, like the Lions have, is multiple star players, not just one. And that's the only way that we're going to get anywhere close to where the Dodgers are at. You have to have a lineup where the other team's fans are thinking, oh, no, not this guy, versus we have, Kerry Carpenter, and that's the only one that anybody's scared to pitch to.
No, and I also think you have to have a conversation about Riley Green. Either Riley gets some of the splits in order, and again, I don't freak out over strikeouts, but it is pretty egregious when you're striking out 200 times. Look, these are the hard decisions an organization has to make if they're serious about getting to the next level. I think the Tigers...
Honestly, I'm fine with moving Riley to get a pitcher because, like you said, him and Carpenter are basically the same thing. But
yes, but Casey, you have to understand something. You have to have you gotta have a spine. You gotta have balls. You're gonna make franchise-altering trades. Look, we don't know what Scott Harris is willing to do. He would have to be willing to put his job security on the line to make those kind of trades. You trade a Riley Green and it doesn't work, and he blossoms somewhere else, that type of thing gets fired. They have shown no willingness to make those types of moves yet. But if not now, when? Because I think it's a pretty tough offseason if you trade Skubal and you don't do some of those things, that's going to be very hard to sell. It just is.
No, it is. And I think because of Skubal is how you're able to win or at least be competitive in this bad division. And if he's not there,
they got Melton. I mean, I do like him.
I do too, but he's not.
You know what I don't like? Jack Flaherty's vesting option at $21 million.
I wonder if he's going to opt out.
A guy with a 5.5 ERA opting out? What is he, nuts?
It's a joke.
Got it. Sorry. 248-539-9797. More of your calls, texts. Next, we'll get some football in the mix as well. 97.1.